Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of JBR Plays podcast. I'm your host John Freeman, and tonight I'm joined again by
Rick
and Ben.
So seeing as it's Halloween, we figured we'd do a nice kind of horror special this week, and to change it up as well, we're going to start with a different topic. And this week we'll start with film. No, we won't. Take that back. We're going to start with video games, started by Rick. So Rick, what's your question for us tonight?
I want to know what you guys think about virtual reality in relation to horror gaming. So do you think that will be the future? Like horror games will apply virtual reality to their games?
As in specifically made for horror games? Or
Yeah, as in the whole game will be in virtual reality to just give that more in-depth sort of scares and stuff like that.
I think for gaming companies that are looking to make jump scare horror as their style, it will definitely be the way forward for them. Could you imagine a game like Slender wearing a virtual reality headset? It would be terrifying. Slender's scary enough as it is, but if you just put that headset on and it just adds that extra immersiveness level where you're wandering around the forest and then bam, suddenly you've got Slender Man right in your face. It's going to be terrifying. I think it's definitely a positive for horror. If used correctly, the VR tool can be incredibly effective for horror.
The only hard part about that is, you'd want people wandering around, but then you have everyone bumping to the walls. I mean, how would you? Because all the games are like, you're sitting still, aren't you? You stay still. And you do stuff. For example, the Batman one, what is it? You're sitting in a chair and you grapple from place to place. So you're not actually walking around or moving around. So how would that kind of work with horror games, I guess?
Well, there's I can't remember what it's called now, but there was a video. I think it was done for Skyrim actually, and they had someone was standing in this weird kind of, I think it was like a pentagon-shaped stand, and it had almost like a treadmill built into it. So when he was walking, the treadmill beneath his feet was going to give the illusion that he was moving.
Was that
obviously it's a big piece of kit? So obviously it's a big piece of kit, which probably
you can't really afford that either. That would be really expensive.
But in the future, that could become affordable. You think about computer and stuff, we're like, there's no way that's affordable. And now everyone's kind of got them.
What's the thing with the VR at the moment? I mean, like, I looked at the Sony VR headset the other day, and it's like 320 something quid. It's not that ridiculous. Accessible at this point in time. Yeah, I mean, was the Kinect like that?
No, but the Kinect was a lot of money. I can't remember, but do you remember
that? 120 quid, I thought. Kinect
was it just that? Yeah,
I thought it was just.
I remember thinking, again, it's like it's new tech. It's this new amazing thing. So obviously they can slap a big price on it. So will eventually it become more, commercially acceptable? I don't know what a good word is for it.
Think about the iToy, for example. Do you remember that years ago on the PlayStation 2?
Yeah.
That was kind of the pre-Kinect almost, and that was again Sony kind of leading the way there. Yeah. And that, I remember that being quite expensive when it first came out, but after a year or so of it being out, prices dropped to a reasonable price, and then more and more people started getting them. And it was and I think it'll be the same with the virtual reality headsets. They're new now, so they're expensive, but once they've been out for a while, it kind of becomes old tech, and then the price decreases with it. But in terms of horror, I think for jump scares, the VR headset has the potential to kind of make that the leading kind of style of horror over films and TV shows and books, because it's just going to really kind of put you in that horror situation, so you're really going to get the scare. But more of like a psychological horror, I think it could still work because of the level of immersiveness, and you could get some really interesting gameplay out of it. But I do feel it will be a lot easier for game developers and even for players to kind of enjoy a jump scare horror from a VR. From a VR perspective. I mean, I can't remember what it's called for life of me now. We were talking about it earlier. There's a game even, and people were saying it's kind of the horror equivalent of Pokemon Go on your phone, where it uses the camera on your phone. You walk around looking at your phone, and it turns your house kind of into this really like a haunted house. Everything's broken, old, and tattered, and like monsters and demons will be jumping out at you. And it did look like, and you have your headphones in as well for the noise effect, and it did look really good. It looked like a genuine kind of scare. Like it was a nice kind of change of pace from your classic horror games, and because it's kind of putting you in your own home doing it, it's that extra level of immersiveness. So the VR kind of, someone took the initiative there,
for a very long time. Because you're in house, you're like, oh my god, I know that was there. Rather than like your brain going, is there this monster that's in my head that I can imagine? Would it be in my closet? It's showing you it is there.
But you could argue
good luck sleeping.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you just hear like a scratch under your bed or something. You're like, nope, that's it, I'm done.
Like once you turn it on, it stays on. Like, oh, sure.
But so do you think it's kind of the future for horror games, or do you think you'll kind of get a mix of both?
Will it kill normal horror games? Is what you're asking, or are you saying it's just
to an extent, like not kill normal horror games, but do you think that a lot of horror developers now are looking at? I mean, I'd imagine a lot of game developers are looking at the VR and what they can do with it. But I bet people who are planning on making horror games, game developers, they are probably having a field day with this tech because they know what exactly. Like Outlast, if that was to implement VR tech, when you're hiding under like the bed and you can like going, "Hey, buddy," when you. No,
what's that name? Freddy's the
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, that
would be perfect for VR because you're not moving. Again, you're not moving. You're just turning your head.
I think for some of the games they'll need to work on controls and how they're going to figure that out, and that's not going to happen soon. But eventually, there's ways to
with a controller. So
that's what I was thinking. For Slenderman, all you would need is a joystick, essentially.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Could be in a wheelchair.
Let's
no, but you could sit down and then it feel more like you're actually doing.
Obviously, you put your character in a wheelchair. It's like, why?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. No, but that's not offensive.
Well, you can be like, you can go into like, you could even use your gaming chair, for example, as well to kind of move.
Well, yeah, I'm saying there's different ways you could do, and then maybe for some of them it could be like a racing version almost, or like you're in a haunted house on a car.
Exactly, like on a rail type game. Yeah. But like, I mean, I went to Universal Studios in LA. A couple of weeks ago, and they have a lot of their roller coasters actually implement a VR. It's a simulation, but it implements almost like a virtual reality style thing with the computer screens. And you're in this roller coaster chair, and there's like a Harry Potter one, a Transformers one, and it really puts you in the world. And you're like the characters are running around with you, and when you look around, you feel like you're in the world because they haven't just done it for the bit straight in front of you.
Yeah.
Everything around you is designed to change and adapt to the new situations you go into with these characters. And that's fantastic, having the roller coaster there, because even though you're not controlling it yourself, and you're not even controlling your own body, this roller coaster is deciding where you go. It's terrifying. And if they were to do that for horror, or it could be, because you have no say in the matter, you're going in there. it would be terrifying. And like, if the video game, obviously roller coasters and video games are very different things, but the idea of kind of combining VR with that style just kind of, it opens up a kind of a whole new idea, a whole new concept of the horror video game genre, which is fantastic, and I think it is a huge bonus.
So you can also sort of revive the old, what are they called? You know, when you shoot the screen with the gun.
Like Time Crisis
House of the Dead,
arcade shooters, I guess.
I guess it could bring those sorts of things back, because it kind of hasn't. You know, you've got the little controllers for like the Vive and stuff, which are basically the gun shooter things where you're not moving, you're on the rails. So it takes from here, shoot them, step up, step down. That sort of thing. And then he goes into the next room. It could bring that sort of thing back. I mean, when's the last one you remember? I don't remember any new ones coming out.
No, I think, to be honest...
5, and that was years ago.
I think it's because you don't need them now, because you've got stuff like Call of Duty, Halo, where you can just run around wherever you want to go. You don't need to stay there and wait and then go again. And I know it kind of adds a different element.
Thing, but, I mean... That's a style of game that people like, I guess, or can like.
But would you two just say virtual reality headsets were a lot cheaper and they were a lot more affordable to the general public, and there was a horror game like Fear or Fear 2 or something, or like Slenderman. Would you buy that to get the kind of thrill of the scare, or would you kind of be like, no, I'm not interested? Would that appeal to you, a virtual reality horror game?
I think it could be quite cool, potentially. But again, you need to see how it works.
It could be short-lived as well. Like the thing of a jump scare, it's like in movies. If you watch a horror film based on jump scares, the first time you watch it, it's going to get to you and it's going to be scary. And even a second time, maybe. But when you get to like the third time of seeing that film, you know exactly where all these jump scares are, and it kind of loses its effect. And you can still enjoy it, but it won't have the kind of adrenaline rush of a horror film like the jump scare.
But like Alien Isolation took care of that problem, where the alien was adaptive enough that it would change where the jump scares are, kind of thing.
Then that could work, yeah.
So a game like that, if they could make that work on virtual reality, then that could work, because it's not always the same thing.
Obviously, you run into that problem. Was it like when we were playing Outlast? And you see the buddy guy, the guy with the long scissors. Every time, eventually, it was terrifying. And then eventually I was just like, would you just go away. I'm not scared. You're just really pissing me off now.
Yeah, it became more of a fed up. Every time he caught you, it wasn't a, oh, I'm scared anymore. It was, oh, God damn it, not again. And it was just annoying after a while, like you said, until you eventually worked past it. But the initial scare, the first time you got
great. Yeah.
I remember just dropping the controller when he found me. I was like, no, that's it. I'm out. And yeah, like like you said, if Alien Isolation's found a way to do that, they could adapt that into a virtual reality horror, and that can make it a lot more interesting. Because if you don't know, if you play through again and you don't know where the jump scares are coming from, it's equally unpredictable. Then that could really work.
Yeah.
And that would be a brilliant game. And I even think that would be a threat to certain like horror film actual movie companies, because if virtual reality can do that for you and it becomes cheap enough to afford in your household, you won't need to go and watch a horror film. If you want the same kind of adrenaline rush and fear factor, just put the headset on.
I guess we're kind of saying is that we all think it has potential, but they still got a lot of work to do to really get that kind of franchise off the ground, virtual reality horror games.
Yeah, but I think we all know it's going to get there, don't we? Like, look at how gaming as a whole has advanced so rapidly over the last 20 years. We know it's getting that way, and we know that this is the next step. I think it's pretty clear that virtual reality, with PlayStation launching their VR package, it's the way forward. It's only a matter of time until Microsoft announce something.
Well, we've got, quite a few now. You've got, Oculus, you've got the PlayStation 1, you've got Vive. Some are more affordable than others. Yeah, the PlayStation 1 is affordable. Like the Vive is like...
But it's more than the console now.
Something quid?
How much is Oculus Rift? Was 600, wasn't it? I don't know if they've changed it. I remember it being a lot of money.
Yeah. Whereas the PlayStation was a more practical answer, I guess. As you say, you can do bundles or packages with an actual PlayStation, so...
But I think the thing...
You don't need a powerhouse computer.
Exactly, yeah. But I'm sure if you give it like a year, then we know in about a year's time it will be a lot less money. So
yeah,
it will become I reckon it will become a thing, and it wouldn't surprise me if horror games were some of the first kind of big opening titles for it, because out of all genres, especially at the moment in the basic stages of virtual reality, horror is probably the easiest one to pull off as well, and pull off effectively and make a genuinely good game using it. So I said that Batman game where you're kind of grappling and jumping around, I bet that has a lot of kind of... I bet it doesn't flow smoothly. I could be wrong. I haven't played it. It could flow very smoothly.
Watched the first 15 minutes, and basically you're sort of like sitting... It kind of looks like you're sitting down all the time, and you're basically just picking stuff up or, playing with things. Like you can pick up this monitor and you see like the death of Jason Todd, and you see the whole thing being recorded, that sort of thing. And basically, to get anywhere, you point your little, PlayStation thing, Move. What's it called? That thing. You point it at, the grapple
I've got the
points.
Move. I forgot about that.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah, the Move. Yeah.
You point it at the grapple points. You press a button, then it goes, takes you over to the little loading screen, and then you're in a new place, so sitting down. It kind of does that over and over again. Then it went into the Batmobile, and that's where it ended for me. So I don't know what happens after that, but as far as I'm aware, it's kind of like a glorified interactive video, I guess.
That would, yeah. So I think that's what we're kind of getting at, the horror genre, like horror, and that works very well for horror. So I do think that, especially with VR coming out now, I think we can all agree that horror is definitely a strong contender for being the leading genre in terms of VR gaming. So yeah, it's definitely, I reckon it's going to be great. I can't wait, personally. And it's time to move on now to our film question, which is being asked by Ben. Got it right that time.
We've been kind of talking about it a little bit. So my sort of question is to do with, it can kind of associate to all of them, really, all three areas. But why do we, as people, why do we enjoy horror, like films, games, whatever? We can talk more about films, but why do we like it? Why do we want to do this to ourselves, I guess?
I think it's really simple. The basic one is really the adrenaline rush that you get from it. It's the same way people go on roller coaster rides and stuff like that. Kind of, it's just the rush you get from that scare.
What I think is quite nice is the idea of like, this is what I was thinking about when I was asking the question. I think like it's a way to experience your fears in a safe environment, basically. So you can, if you're scared of spiders, you can watch like a spider film, and you can turn it off. If you want to turn it off, you can turn it off. So you can deal with it how you want to. Rick's face.
I can tell you, if we're watching a spider movie, that shit ain't going on at all.
He does not enjoy this.
You know, one of these weeks we'll be recording a podcast and there'll just be a spider going on the wall and Rick will just go silent and we'll be like, Rick, what do you think? And he'll just be
Like
slowly
pointing.
backing across the room and we'll be like, Rick? Rick? Oh, okay.
I watched an episode of Black Mirror last night, and it was sort of questioning these ideas, and it was like this. It was taking VR a step further. That was the idea of this episode, where he put this implant in the back of his head, which basically made VR become real. There was no headset. Like it was in his head.
Yeah.
And they put him in this haunted house, and that happens. A spider, like a big house spider. It's not huge, but you know, it's big enough. Comes creepy across the floor. That's not real. He's just seeing this sort of thing, and you know, so he jumps up on the side of his chair and freaks him out. So that sort of thing again coming to VR, but yeah.
I think you could argue there is kind of the reason I think people want to go and see horror films as well. There's kind of, I guess it's almost like a morbid curiosity. Like when you're scared of something, you run away, but at the same time you kind of want to see it still. Like I'm terrified of snakes, and when I go to the zoo, I'll still go and look at, and like there's part of me that just wants to run when I see the snakes in their cages. But there's also a part of me that's kind of drawn to it almost because I'm scared of it. I want to go in there and I want to see what I'm scared of almost. And I think it's kind of the same with horror films. You go in there knowing you're going to be scared, and it's not necessarily confronting that fear, but like Rick said, the adrenaline rush is quite a big spike. Like the new Blair Witch film,
almost.
yeah, it's kind of the kick you kind of get out of it.
Yeah.
Like I went to see the new Blair Witch, and towards the end, after the kind of without saying any spoilers, in the last 20 minutes, there's a huge build up, and then when it all kicks off at the end, it's brilliant. I'd say it's actually one of the best pieces of horror I've seen in a long time. And at one point, I remember finding it quite hard to actually look at the screen because I was so kind of apprehensive about what was coming next. Like, okay, in the next few seconds, I'm about to jump out my skin and run out of the cinema screaming. But I forced myself to look because I was like, it's so tense. I couldn't not look. I was glued to the screen. But there was a part of me, like there was a part of me inside my head was like, just look away now. Save yourself the scare, because if you don't sleep, it's like, you know, it's because of this. But at the same time, you love it. Like I was really excited at the same time that I was getting scared, which seems like a really weird thing to say. But I think that feeling is, you can't really get it from a lot of places. So horror films are a good way forward for it. I mean, what do you think?
Because I saw Blair Witch as well, and I had the same issue of like, you know, I don't want to see this. There's a bit where I don't really know because I didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure you see the witch, do you not? Or whatever it is.
Yeah, ish. It's very hard to make out. It's kind of like a...
Yeah.
Okay, spoiler territory slightly. You've had a warning. It's kind of like a blurred image. So it's definitely there. You can't confuse it for something else. It's definitely the Blair Witch, but you can't see her clearly to know what she's... Oh, no, it's not. No.
That's another
If that is the conspiracy, if that's what it turns out to be, that franchise is dead.
Big game, but what did I say? So going back to what I was saying, I have the thing where I don't want it in my head is the thing, because I think if it's there, it will then freak me out. Whereas if I don't know what it is, I can be like, okay, this is what I imagine it to be. It's a nice pony with little cats all over it or something.
But
it's like, you know...
Do you go to that? Like, for example, there's
that part of it?
There's an amazing... It's a podcast audio play called We're Alive, and it's about the zombie apocalypse. And I haven't listened to it in a while, but I used to listen to it at uni. It's fantastic. And I remember one time it was kind of pitch black in my room, and I was just lying there listening to the podcast with my eyes closed, and I could imagine it so vividly. And then when something happened at one point, I remember just jumping really badly, and I was like, oh my God. Oh, it's not real, but I let let myself get immersed in this story, and my imagination in a way was scarier than seeing it on the screen. I think if that had been something I had watched on TV or in a cinema, I wouldn't have jumped. But it was so immersive in my head, and then the sound coming in through the headphones obviously just triggered it and gave me kind of that, oh God, I'm scared kind of thing. But it was a really, like I say, it's kind of, you get a kick from it. And it's great. Like you kind of want more of it, but you don't know why you want more of it. But
why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, mental trauma. What do you think, Rick?
I was just thinking how quite funny, because me and Ben sometimes have this argument. I hate the unrealistic stuff. So like the doll that comes alive. Right. Like I hate dolls. Like with a passion.
Oh, then you hate it in your there. What you're
like
saying.
I hide them. I used to hide them in my house. Like hide them in the cupboard. Look, they were still there. Then go to bed. But Ben hates the realistic ones where there's like the Purge kind of thing. It's Strangers.
The Strangers.
That kind of thing.
Because happen. We're not skeptical. It can happen, which is why it's like, oh my god, and they're messed up.
Going back to what you just said about when you were a kid, surely if you were hiding the dolls, what was if you forgot about one? And then later on in life, just walking on, you're like, oh, I'm going to get a biscuit out of the cupboard. You open the cupboard and there's a doll there. You would just scream.
I would have run away and cried.
Yeah.
But believe me, I knew exactly what they were supposed to be and how many there were.
He's got like a tracker on each one, so number 7 is fine. If I would have messed you if you was your parents so badly and moved the dolls around to freak you out and put like one under your pillow. So
Oh no, that would not have been funny because I wouldn't have been able to sleep.
But what I was thinking, I just had a train of thought about.
That's because I was going to say, while you try and think about it, go back to what I was saying about the Black Mirror thing. That would be brutal for me because I've tried to think about it a few times. I think my biggest fear is my imagination because of what I can make up in my head almost, and I tend to mesh things together. Like, you know, from what I watch, I'll put like a bit of that into that, and then I'll make this horrible, scary thing. So if that sort of thing became real, the Black Mirror thing, where it's your own mind, literally what you're most scared of would be appearing, and that would just be terrifying. You'd know instantly what you're scared of.
Yeah. But it's again going back to the Blair Witch idea. Did you guys? I'm guessing you've both seen Will Smith's I Am Legend film.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
See, there's a bit when the dog runs into the building and he goes after the dog and he's got the flashlight and he keeps letting the light in, closing, like making it dark. That
really got me the first
time.
time.
Tension. I remember sitting in the cinema when I must have been around 16 at the time, and again it was the exact same feeling as the Blair Witch, and I love that feeling of I want to look away because I know what's coming, but I can't. I'm hooked to the screen, but this is terrifying, and my adrenaline, my heart was like pounding. I was like, here it comes. But at the same time, like I said, it's a really addictive feeling, and that's what horror gives you. A lot of films don't, like even action films, which are like high pumping adrenaline kind of. You don't feel like when I go and watch Fast and Furious, I love those films, but I don't come out all pumped and like, yeah, I feel great kind of thing. Like you come out of a horror film, you're not like, I feel great. But you're more like, your heart's still kind of going quite quickly, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm definitely like, my adrenaline's definitely spiked right now, kind of. And you don't really get that from a lot of other genres of film. I mean, they come out, and they're not designed to. I think, like obviously, if you go to see a drama, it's not designed to kind of give you a spike in your adrenaline. It's designed to make you think about something like a human emotion or other kind of story, and really kind of have a deep, kind of hard-hitting impact in that way. Whereas horror is designed to kind of it's designed to scare you, obviously, the main thing. But I think a big part of horror is getting that adrenaline rush,
disturb you in general.
And I think that's when the die-hard horror fans, that's what they love, is the kind of the adrenaline rush, which I think is great. So I think we should move on to our final topic now, which is television. And for this one, keeping it horror related, so the very first episode of season 7 of The Walking Dead came out last week, and Ben and I, both big Walking Dead fans. Rick doesn't really watch it.
No,
he's wrong.
And
let's just not get into that.
There was obviously, as I'm sure if any of you watched Walking Dead or go on social media, you'll be aware, there were a lot of complaints about how graphic the episode was as a horror, and people were saying it's taking it too far for a TV show. And what I want to ask you guys is, do you think that that's true, that horror isn't really fit for TV, or do you think that it was kind of blown out of proportion how people reacted?
I think it's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't like it, then don't watch it.
Yeah.
It's The Walking Dead. It's got zombies with faces torn off and stuff. You know it's going to be brutal. It's never lied about it. It's always been blatantly in your face.
But that's the thing, like, and it's not even that it was no one can claim it was a surprise really, because we knew at the very ending of season 6 over half a year ago that someone was getting their head smacked in with a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. Yeah, it's not going to be. You're not going to sit there watching going, oh, this is lovely. Like, I might show my kids this. You're going to be like, oh god, that's awful. But that's what you're meant to feel. That's the whole purpose of it. And and a lot of people were saying it was unnecessary. I respectfully disagree with that. And that was why they were saying it was unnecessary gore and violence. I don't think it was, because it's based off of a comic book source material, which does have it's slightly different. We won't go into spoilers on here and say who dies, but it does happen slightly differently to the comic book. But the brutality is still the same, and it had to be to show just how serious a villain this guy is. He doesn't play around. That's the point. Like, he's got great charisma and everyone loves him, but he can be brutal when he has to be to make a point. I mean, they needed to convey that, and I don't think anyone can walk away from that episode thinking that this guy it isn't basically it is a pushover. Yeah, exactly. Like, we now know how seriously dangerous this guy is and how far he's willing to go. They have set his boundaries, and in that kind of world, it's believable because people are doing awful things to stay alive and to keep their positions of power. The way that Negan's character works, his whole lifestyle runs off of his power, the power he has over other people. He needs to show that he has a lot of power. And okay, yes, TV shows, you could argue, oh, your kid could accidentally turn on that channel. And I think the reason in America why there were more complaints than over here is because Walking Dead's actually aired on basically our version of Freeview, so anyone can watch it. And it's also before the watershed.
Later time.
It's on at 8 o'clock in the evenings over there, I think. Whereas for us, it's 9 o'clock. So for us, it just goes over that boundary. So over here, it's kind of it is set for adults, but
that's an issue with the time slot is at more than it is really with the brutality of the TV show. I think because it's meant to be like that, and the fact that they've actually pissed some people off means they've done something right. They've made it interesting. They've made it something worth talking about. Yeah. However brutal you might find it, in a way.
Bad stuff is always good stuff. Well, bad publicity is always good.
Well, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah. People are talking about it, being like, this happened, I'm not happy about it, and then people are like, oh, I'm going to go check this out because they're not happy. I'm like, oh. They could love it.
But
I thought it was great.
Do you guys watch, I haven't actually watched it, but American Horror Story?
I know I've watched bits of it. I think the first 3 seasons.
Yeah. I watched the majority of season 2.
So do you feel that ever takes it too far, watching, like, in terms of horror? Because the whole process of horror...
No, it's not.
Have you seen the hotel one?
No, I haven't seen the hotel one, no.
The season 2, which is the asylum, that wasn't too bad.
That's a bit weird.
The worst you got was like somebody loses legs and walks around, and they get a bit like monsterfied, I guess is a good way of putting it. The hotel.
I haven't seen the hotel. I've seen the Coven and the first one.
I'm not going to say anything like spoiler wise. I can't remember their names anyway. But a guy gets raped by another guy wearing a corkscrew-esque strap on, I guess, and it's long. It's not a short thing. Like, that could kill a man. And he's got this weird, like, masked up face sort of thing, so you can't even see what it is.
I find that more arguably really like disturbing. Whether that is necessary.
Well, that could be arguably psychological, and then it depends on the purpose behind it. Like, you've seen it. Did it justify what it was trying to portray, or was it unnecessary extremities?
To me, I don't mind. It's not like I'm going, this is outrageous. I was just like, why? I was kind of like, why have they done that? I was like, okay.
See, the why question could be then: is it too?
Yeah,
if you're questioning why, like again with Negan obviously murdering them, I don't think we were sitting there going why.
Oh no, because he's showing off he is a badass. But he's like, I will mess you up if you screw with me, basically.
And so I think there is a place for horror, and I think obviously again in America, we were saying the different timings do make issues, and the fact that AMC obviously has because AMC is on Freeview for them, whereas for us it's on our equivalent like Sky, Virgin Media. It's actually not even AMC over here; it's FX. They can show it at a later time, and it's so for us over here it's okay, and we know, and obviously kids can still channel flick and find it. Lots of young kids do watch The Walking Dead. They do watch. I've completely forgotten the name of the show we were talking about.
American Horror Story.
Yes,
that's on. Is that Netflix?
It's on Netflix. Yeah,
exclusive or not? I don't know.
It's not exclusive. No,
American Horror Story.
Yeah, it is on. Yeah,
it's not
on there, but is it?
Yeah,
it's not exclusive.
No.
I was just saying, so I do think we do still have a place for horror on TV and even graphic horror. I think it just as long as when they interview someone afterwards, like an actor from the episode or a director, if they can justify why they've done it and it's a plausible reason, I don't think you can knock it because you know what you're getting into watching that kind of show. Walking Dead's been on for 7 seasons now. Well, 6. It's just starting at 7th. If you don't know what The Walking Dead's like by now when you're watching it, then that's kind of on you in a way. Like, I don't mean that way. Like, because if you've never seen it before and you've never heard about it and you turn on the channel, then you will probably be a bit shocked by what you see. But if you've been watching it for a long time and you got to that episode and you're saying that it's outrageous, I don't think that's really... You knew what to expect. Again, going back to the fact that we knew this was coming from the ending of season 6. And especially if you compare it to the comic book, it's very accurate. Like the graphic detail of the actual death... It's very accurately portrayed, and so they are copying the source material. It's not like they just went, let's make this look as horrible as possible. They actually if you compare, like people have done it on YouTube, shot for shot, it's pretty spot on, and you can't really... I think it's hard to complain about that, because they've just done their job, really. They've given justice to all the fans who wanted to see it.
If you take it away from The Walking Dead, Spartacus... That's not based
Game
on
of Thrones.
That is same thing. Spartacus is extremely brutal. What happens in that is worse than The Walking Dead in some respects. I mean, people get messed up in that show, and it's entertainment value. That's the point. Like Rick said at the beginning, if you don't like it, don't watch it. You know what it's going to be, so either look it up first, talk to someone, watch the first bit, and if you like it, then you'll love the rest of it. If you don't like it, then be like, I'm not going to watch this. Rather than being like, how could you do this? This is terrible. It's like, just, it is what it is.
But do you find it interesting as well what kind of people criticise? Like, I remember when in the Game of Thrones, the Big Mountain versus the Viper fight, and he literally gets his thumbs through the Viper's eye sockets and crushes his head open, and it's really graphic. You see him lying on the floor there, his head just shattered open. And I don't remember hearing that many complaints. I remember hearing people go, "Oh, it looks horrible," but in a complimentary way, as in, "Oh, that was brutal." Yeah. I don't remember hearing many complaints. There could have been. I'm not saying there weren't and stuff, but this Walking Dead one seems to have really sparked a huge kind of controversy online.
I guess it's based off the people involved.
Yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it? Like from those kind of shows, you kind of know what's coming. You should expect these things. And like, for example, when Walking Dead comes out on DVD over here, most seasons are given an 18. I think all of them might actually be an 18 rating. You know it's not for kids. You know if it's got an 18 rating and it's a horror and it says warning, even at the beginning of the episode, contains extreme gore.
But this whole thing about arguing about, kids can watch it. I'm sorry, but a 7-year-old can go online and probably stream the episode if they wanted to. There's no really way anymore to really bar kids from pretty much seeing anything they want.
But someone actually brought this up to me earlier as an interesting point. Do you feel that it desensitizes us to actual real life violence? So seeing stuff like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, do you feel we become desensitized to real life violence?
A question: how often do you see real life violence?
You don't.
I have a point for that one. I can't remember how long ago. It was a few years ago, but it was I remember in Cobham, and it was that story about that guy. I can't remember what happened. There's lots of different stories going around. One was like he fell in the river or something, ended up in the high street. But basically, in one of the doorways of the shop, there was a pool of stained blood on the floor. I drove past it. It didn't faze me. That's what I got worried about. I was like, oh God. I was like, why is that not bothering me?
It's not a stain.
Yes, it's not extreme violence or anything, but seeing that in real life, that should be like, oh God, that's that's a pool of blood or something. But I just saw it, and it's not extreme violence. It's a lot worse than that. A lot worse. But
But I still argue, like,
should not do something to me.
If you were on, just say you're on a night out and you saw two people got into a fight, and you saw someone smack someone really hard in the face, I still like to think that would shock me still. I would be mortified, kind of like, oh my God, what's going on here? I feel like it might have desensitized us slightly, but I don't think it's... And I still think people are very aware of violence in real life situations, and they know the dangers of it. And I don't think we take it... there will be some people who will take it for granted, but I do think that most people watching shows like this, they do also understand it's fiction. It's not real. There is a difference between the two.
It's recreated. It's not, we've just actually smashed someone's head in. This is prosthetics and, makeup and stuff. So it will never be 100% accurate. So it's based off what it could be, I guess. Yeah.
And I mean, have you seen any footage leaks online? I remember online newspapers a while ago showing some footage from it was a battle out in the Middle East somewhere, and even that, knowing it was real, you don't actually see anyone get hurt or anything, but the gunfight, the idea of watching, I found very difficult to watch. Like, oh my God, this is real. Someone could, and my brain was able to differentiate between fiction there and go, no, I'm actually watching a kind of a real fight here, someone could die. And I didn't watch any more of it. I turned it off after a couple of seconds. I was like, I don't want to see a real thing. I can deal with the fiction. I can deal with, like you said, aesthetics and props and special effects. But I don't want to see the real life equivalent of that. And I think as long as you can differentiate there, that's a big thing. And I think hopefully most people can differentiate there. And then, because you see it so often in video games and in films and TV shows, violence, but it doesn't seem to affect people, like, as far as I'm aware, like when we go on a night out, none of us go running up to people, smacking them in the back of the head and stuff, or getting a baseball bat and just clocking someone because they've annoyed us. You don't even see kind of minor versions of it, like less extreme versions, like I said, like starting fights and stuff like that. It doesn't happen. I mean, it does happen often, but not that often that you see it every time you go out.
Or does it make you go, it doesn't make you think this is acceptable?
Exactly. You still know.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, just wording it very badly. That you know exactly your morals. Your morals still. Yeah. Your gut instinct says no. It would be wrong to do anything like that, and then you don't want to. The idea of it's kind of repulsive.
Unless there's a zombie apocalypse.
In which case you get a baseball bat and smack someone in submission. Yeah.
Submission. And the rest.
I meant as in like how he kind of turned Rick. Right. Basically, he kind of broke Rick, so Rick now is completely obedient to everything he says. Spoilers.
Sheriff Reek.
Okay, guys, and we did actually get a question from a Mr. BD Cooper this week, which is we already kind of gone over the topic briefly earlier, talking about virtual reality, and he was saying, what do we think the future of virtual reality is for the gaming world? And we've said about horror, and you talked a bit about the Batman game, but how do you think it'll work in terms of other games like action games,
like
kind of games like
stuff?
Yeah, those kind of games.
The moment you kind of locked into, like I was saying about the movement side of it,
kind of that's an issue.
Yeah, the best way of doing it at the moment would be controller in your hands. You play it normally, but you can look around 3D. 360 and everything. You can look around, look above, look down, whatever. Until they implement some way of walking around. Which is, actually available to everyone and not, hey, it's a test or whatever.
And not everyone would want to walk around.
As you say, not everyone would want to. You might want to have a sit down and play a game.
It's like when Pokemon Go came out, people complained. They were like, can I play a Pokemon game without the walking? They were like, yeah, it's the Game Boy one. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
So, when you're running around and stuff on, like, Call of Duty, you don't... Because that's so quick. If you constantly have to keep up that pace when you're playing a respawn, run around dead, respawn, run around, dead.
Could you imagine if it was like paintballing? You know, when you get shot in paintball, you're like, right, walk to that tree over there, touch it, and come back in. You'd be like, after 10 deaths, you'd be like, come on. But great cardio, though. Gamers would suddenly be the fittest people in the world. They'd be running around.
That was the point of Pokemon Go, wasn't it? They're creating an army of super roided out gamers to take over the gaming world, I guess.
Gaming world? No, I think we take over the real world at that rate. They're all running around.
Like pain receptors.
Ooh, that. But you might.
There's so many issues with that you start getting into bad territory.
Yeah, but you could also argue if that's what you're looking for. I don't know why you would be.
Why do you go paintball?
I was about to say you might as well go if you instead of playing Call of Duty or virtual reality and pain sensors on, go paintball. Okay, a lot of money, but go paintballing, go airsofting.
But then you can't just go, I'm home, I'm going to turn on my Xbox and get some pain.
Get some pain.
Get some pain. Just walk into bullets on purpose.
Well, then again, that goes in that thing of will they ever go into the idea of Sword Art Online? Messing with the actual brain. Because at the moment it's just a screen in front of your face.
Yeah.
When you actually start messing with your brain, would they ever do that, do you think?
I reckon it will definitely be something to discuss, and I think if it could be done safely, I think we're talking a good 50 to 100 years minimum.
The army and stuff be researching into this.
Yes,
because that's the way to train soldiers, like without putting them out into the battlefield.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, we haven't been looking at anything army. But you can only imagine, kind of the army, like they have to look at all kinds of technology. And they have to kind of, like, I even read an article a while ago saying by the year 2023 the American military should all be using laser rifles as standard issue rifles, and they're working on laser technology, and they were saying one of the key things, I think they're pretty much there actually for their guns, which is amazing because we've never seen anything about it, and this article could be inaccurate. But the interesting thing about the article was they were saying the main reason they want to do it, they want to be careful right now and hold off, is they want every soldier who picks one up to realise the danger of using a laser rifle. But I was like, surely they need to realize the danger of using a normal rifle as well. Like they're both very high power weapons, but yeah, like we are moving into a different era of kind of that
future
sort of technology. And like virtual reality, like you said, virtual reality can be used for all kinds of training, not just military. It could be, you could use virtual reality to train people to do
operations,
surgery. It could be used in so many beneficial ways, not just video games, but it would be like a video game.
Well, that's kind of where you can bring the augmented reality as well. Like, you know, the was it? It's a Microsoft thing, HoloLens.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is kind of bringing that in, isn't it? Like, for example, you say operations that could eventually, you know, here's an arrow saying point here, stab here, cut here, put a line here. At the moment, it's more basic, isn't it? Like, here's your cooking book and look at this, cut these here and stuff. But that sort of thing is kind of covering that as well. To, I guess, to what's the term? To help make it easier to do things.
To assist, yeah.
I guess, rather than train.
I think. The one thing my mum always tells me is that anything we can think of, we'll probably eventually be able to make or do. Anything we can really think of.
And you could also, even to an extent, you could use virtual reality to test. It would be very difficult to do, I guess, but theoretically to test kind of experiments and stuff as well, because you could test what happens in the virtual world. Kind of, obviously, it'd be very hard to predict
because you can't code for it because there's no known reaction for it yet. So
I'm thinking too sci-fi filmy.
Yeah, I think that'd be tricky.
You'd need the real life results to program into it.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
It would be cool, but yep. I think I'm thinking of Iron Man, where he does like run simulations on his thing. He's like, it will work in real life because it worked in the virtual reality thing. Yeah. But no, so I think we can all agree, virtual reality, right now we are only kind of just tapping into its potential. And video games is the initial step forward, I think. I think this is a really big thing for video games because, like we were saying, surgeon simulations could become a legit way of training, and military simulations could become a legit way of training soldiers. So video games can really kind of pave the path for this. And that's a really big thing for the video game kind of media as a whole. I think that's a really big deal, and that's something that it's going to be interesting to see how it changes and adapts over the coming years.
I think even like work simulators, like, you know, got the
office simulator right at this desk.
Yeah, they could program it from your job, be like, as you say, a training simulator, be like, this is how you use the till, this is how you reply to an email, and then you can practice on the virtual people, so if you mess it up then they'll be like, you know, angry virtual people.
Well, I mean, tills do have training modes and stuff, so you can practice. But obviously, if the shop's busy, it's convenient because then you can practice on like.
But you in the back practice.
That sounds dodge. Right, guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll be back next week. If you want to send us any questions, please feel free. And if you like this, please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. And we'll see you next week.
Speak to you later.
Bye.